Alright guys, so I have now just reached the guaranteed 5-star in the standard banner, so I'm going to run through who would be the better options to pick up so you have an idea on who you should pick up. Before we get into it, please subscribe to the channel, would really appreciate it, and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. So just to let you guys know, I'll advise who you guys should pick up depending on how much value the character would bring to your account. However, if you just want a character because you like them, definitely go for it. Don't feel forced into having to pick someone you don't want. Okay, so the first character I'll go over is Bronya. If you somehow haven't picked up Bronya after 300 standard banner pulls and after all of the 50/50s you've lost, you have some insanely bad luck. Bronya is the best character to pick up from this selection for sure. I mean, she's one of the best supports in the game and for certain teams, the best support to run. For me personally, because Jingliu is one of my main DPS characters I use, Bronya is the best in slot support for her. So pulling Eidolons for Bronya would be the best thing so I can buff my Jingliu even further. If you already have supports like Sparkle and Ruan Mei on your account and still don't have Bronya, you could get away with picking someone else up. But the safest choice I think would be Bronya. Supports tend to have quite the longevity within games in comparison to DPS characters that are power crept not too long after. So Bronya really is the best character to pick up as she is the only support from this selection. But of course you know your account best, and if you need someone else like Himeko or Welt as a DPS, then go for it. Moving on to Himeko, now I was personally stuck between her and Bronya to pick up. Himeko is a decent follow-up attack DPS. With lots of investment, you can start to see some good results from her, especially paired up with someone like Topaz or Herta for that endless follow-up attack combo. Himeko is actually amazing for Pure Fiction and has started to shine in that game mode. So if you are stuck on Pure Fiction and do need a DPS to carry one team, Himeko would be a good option paired with Herta. The reason I'm still going with Bronya over Himeko is because I would only be using Himeko for Pure Fiction after a ton of investment. Bronya I would be using in multiple game modes throughout the game. So in terms of who I use more, it would be Bronya, so it only makes sense to pick up an Eidolon for her. Also, as I said, Himeko does require quite a bit of investment to deal good damage. Then you have DPS characters that will hit harder effortlessly in comparison. If you guys aren't picking up Bronya, Himeko would be a great option if you are willing to invest into her. Now we have Welt, a somewhat similar situation with Himeko, being that after a lot of investment, you can see some decent results in DPS. But there isn't really a place in the game where he really excels unlike Himeko in Pure Fiction. She at least has that going for her. Welt is an okay DPS that can offer some sustainability to the team due to being imaginary, allowing him to imprison enemies. Initially, Welt was one of the few imaginary units in the game, so of course that was reason enough to pick him up, to deal with imaginary weak enemies. But after receiving Dr. Ratio for free, which is an imaginary DPS that deals a ton of damage in comparison, I see little value from picking up Welt. There are some comps where you can find some use for Welt, such as applying debuffs for Dr. Ratio, also for Akron as she will require debuffs as well, but there are many better options to run. Of course, if you like Welt as a character, I hear it, but in terms of value for your account, I don't see him bringing much to the table. Alright, next up is Gepard. Now, as a sustainer, he's decent. He puts up a strong shield with his ultimate, however that's all he pretty much does. Then you have sustainers such as Fushuan that taunts, provides healing and crit buffs for the team. Also a Venturine that is dropping soon and is a DPS sustainer that increases the amount of crit damage you can deal on an enemy. So really, sustainers that only sustain and cannot provide anything else to the team are not worth running in my opinion. You would rather use a DPS support to clear quicker over having a sustainer that will sure protect your team, but just sustaining is not worth it. If you really want a good sustainer, pick up Fushuan on her rerun soon, and a Venturine would be a good possible choice too. Yanqing now, an ice DPS character. To be blunt, unless you really like this character somehow, don't pick him up. It doesn't matter if you're a completionist that wants all the 5 stars, you will pull him unfortunately at some point. As a DPS, he has been power crept a ton. He doesn't really have a place in the game where you would want to pick him over another DPS character. Of course, there are instances in Simulated Universe where you can have him pop off, but that is pretty much all characters in the game. Then you have Jingliu that exists, which is a superior ice DPS by a mile. I've even pulled him unfortunately, losing a 50/50, and he's remained at level 1 for months, because there's no reason to even level him up, apart from the standard banner pulls I guess. If you need a nice DPS, Jingliu is having a rerun soon, so I would definitely advise picking her up. Now Clara is a physical DPS sustainer that might be worth picking up. Clara early game is top tier in my opinion. She really holds down the sustainer and DPS position very well. If you have invested quite a bit into her as well, her counters will deal some insane damage. Lynx being a free 4-star healer would be very good for Clara as well, as she aggroes the enemies more into attacking destruction and preservation characters, which Clara would benefit from so she can land more counters. If you are lacking on the sustainer side or require a solid physical character, Clara is a great choice. There are other characters more suited for late game content, but Clara will still be able to put in a shift. Now finally, Bailu. Straight up, do not pull this character. You have Lynx for free, which is a much better option. Bailu having an RNG heal has got to be the most frustrating thing ever, and whether you like it or not, you will pull this character through a 50-50. If you have somehow avoided pulling Bailu, seriously, congratulations. But yeah, don't pick her up. And with that is Bronya at E3 now. E6 Bronya is cracked as hell, and so that is the aim. Hopefully Himeko does come home soon. If you guys did enjoy the video, please subscribe to the channel, would really appreciate it, and drop a like. Also, drop a comment on letting me know who you picked up for the guaranteed 5-star. And yeah, hope to catch you guys later.